Hello, welcome to our channel Elimika Mtandaoni. My name is Agustino Mogosi. Today I'll broaden your understanding of information systems, but particularly I'll be talking about a business problem solving approach, business solving problem approach. The approach of understanding information system, if you want to understand information system, then you have to consider information system and technologies as solutions to a variety of business challenges and problems. We know that in our societies we have a number of problems. In our businesses, in our organizations, we have a number of problems. So you need to find solutions to those problems. So information systems and information technologies can be taken as solutions to these variety business challenges and business problems. So in this lecture, I will refer to this as problem-solving approach. We know that businesses face many challenges, businesses face a number of problems, and information systems are one major way of solving these problems. So the problem-solving approach has a direct relevance to your future career. I know you are here studying information system because you are preparing yourself to a certain career under information system. You can be studying Bachelor of Information Systems. You can be studying Bachelor of Business Information Systems. You can be studying Bachelor of Health Information System, Multimedia Technologies, and animation, and a lot more studies that you may be taking. So your future employers will hire you because you are able to solve business problems and achieve business objectives. Remember, we discussed about drivers of information system, business drivers information system. So you will be hired because you are able to solve some business problems. So, and you can achieve the business objectives. So your knowledge of how information systems contribute to problem solving will be helpful to both, to you and to your employers. So now we'll be talking about this, what we call problem solving approach. At a first glance, problem solving in daily life may seem to be perfectly straightforward. Think of this. Let me show you one thing. For example, you can say there is a machine here. We had this is a car. We have a car like this. Then this tire here gets a puncture probably, or some oil splits out of this car. The solution may be simple. Somebody has to do something about it. So of course, you find a tool around and shop and start repairing that. If it is a car, if this is a flat tire, then you can just fill it up. So, or it's an oil split, then you can just clean up and do some inspection of the parts, and you start the machine and boom, you have solved the problem. No doubt, some problems in business are very straightforward. You see a problem, you find tools, you solve that problem, just like the problem of this car that we have seen. But few problems are this simple in the real world business. In real world business, firms, a number of major factors are simultaneously involved in problems. And these major factors can be useful to be grouped into three categories. So you can consider problems with regard to organizations. You consider problems with regard to technology. Problems can be people. So in other words, a whole set of problem is usually involved. So it's not just a simple problem that you can just solve straightforward. That's why we have a model for problem solving process. We have a model for problem solving process, and that model, we say it's a problem solving approach model. This simple model of problem solving that you can use to help you understand and solve business problems using information systems. So you can think of business problem solving as a four-step process, as you can see here. Most problem solvers work through this model on their way of finding a solution. So now let's take a brief look at each step. You know, we have 4 steps. The first step is problem identification. The second step is solution design. The third step is choice and implementation. So if you are information system specialist, then the simple model that you can use to solve a problem is through these 4 important steps. So now let us take a look at one step after another. Now let's talk about problem identification. Problem identification, that is the first step, problem identification. So the first step in the problem solving process is to understand what kind of problem exists. So you have first to understand the problem, contrary to popular beliefs, problems are not like basketballs or on a court simply waiting to be picked up by some objective problem solver. Before problems can be solved, there must be agreement in a business that a problem exists, about what the problem is, about what its causes are, about what can be done about the problem given. You have limited resources that are found in that organization. So problems have to be properly defined by people in an organization before they can be solved. So you don't just go and solve a problem. So you have to have a meeting. We call it steering committee meeting. You stay with managers, employees, then you identify, you say that there is this problem and this actually is a problem. But you have to note that not every problem can be solved using information system just like that. You cannot automate every step, every process, everything. But what you can do is first to see if there is a need, if there is a need for you to solve that problem. For example, let's say you have this problem. You say employees cannot respond to customers in a timely and accurate manner. You can say that is a problem, but the reality might be the result of order, out-of-date information for keeping track of customers, or it might be a combination of both. Poor employee incentives, the way they treat customers, or an outdated system. So you have a number of problems. So you say these employees do not respond to customers timely, but what have you looked out? Maybe it is in order preparation or in the manufacturing process. The employee takes order and submits order to the manufacturing department, and the manufacturing department does not respond quickly, or the machines in the manufacturing department that do not go with the pace or the speed of the saving of the employees. So answers to several questions will require what we call fact gathering. So to understand the problem, you have first to gather facts. After you gather facts, then you conduct some interviews. You interview people that are involved in the problem, and then you do analysis of some documents. So you can gather facts, then you can interview the customers, you can interview the employees, you can even interview the managers to see what is the real cause of the problem. So the first step is problem identification, and in the problem identification, as we have said, you need to understand the problem, and understanding the problem, you have to gather facts, then you have to research, you do some interviews, you need to understand the people that are involved in the problem. So the emphasis will be on different and typical dimensions of business problems. So as you are gathering these facts, then you have to consider the 3 important dimensions. So you have to consider the organization, you have to consider the technology, and you have to consider the management of all people. You have to consider management or people. So typical organizational problems can include, for example, you can be after you are gathering facts, then some organization problems may be the business processes. there are poor business processes. So if you know that the business processes are poor, then you can redesign. You can come up with better ways of which you can solve, or you can come up with better business processes. Or you can have what we call unsupportive culture. In an organization, you find that the way people live in organization is not supporting the introduction of a certain business process. So think of how you can come up with a better supportive culture. Sometimes we have politics. People fight over these management issues. People fight because there are changes in organization. People fight because there are some organizational surrounding environments are not good. So you can think of an organization in a number of elements. We have talked about business processes as elements. We have talked about unsupportive culture. We have talked about politics. We have talked about the surrounding environment, etc. Then you can come to technology. In the technological problems, you can include things like insufficient or aging hardware. For example, you want to introduce a new system and you are using a hardware that was produced in the year 1990. It is out of date. You are using, let's say, software which was from the year 2003 and we are in the 2020. So outdated software, inadequate database capacity, insufficient telecommunications capacity, and incapability of all the systems. So you find all these can fall under technology. So you can have technological problems. Then they do not require you to just come up with a solution unless you understand the facts. Then speaking of people, there can be people problems that include employees training. For example, you are introducing a new system. And you find that your employees cannot use that new system, or the customers cannot use that system. So the problem, as you are solving the problem, you need to understand the facts. What are the facts behind a particular problem? So you may find there may be employee support and participation. So when you begin to analyze a business problem, you will find these dimensions. The problems may fall under organization or technology or the people. So you will find these dimensions being very helpful. They will guide you to understand the kind of problems that you are working. So when we talked about dimensions of information system, then that is how we will be solving such problems. Now, let's talk of another step. The other step is solution design. So after you have understood the problem, that this is the problem that exists. So the second step is to design solution to the problem that you have identified. As it turns out, there are usually a great many solutions to any given problem. So if you have seen this is a problem, then you can find a solution 1, solution 2, solution 3, solution 4, a number of solutions. So, and the choice to that solution often reflects the different perspectives of people in that organization. So you should try to consider as many different solutions as possible so that you can understand the range of possible solutions. Some solutions, they emphasize more on technology. Others focus on the change in the organization and people aspects of the problem. As you will find, there are a number of successful solutions that have been implied in several businesses. For example, we have a number of businesses. We have companies for phone companies such as Tigo, Vodacom. They came up with a lot of solutions. So there are some of these solutions have successful and some were not successful. So you have to consider, as you are designing a solution, then you have to consider as many solutions as possible. So you can emphasize the solution on technology, or you can emphasize on organization, or you can emphasize the solution on the people aspect of that problem. So that is the second step. The third step is what we call choice. choice. Choosing the best solution for your business firm is the next step in the process. Some of the factors that you need to consider when trying to find best single solutions are: you can consider the cost of the solution. So the first, before you go to choosing this is the solution, then what will be the cost of this solution? Then the feasibility of the solution of your business given existing resources and skills. So in the cost, you consider what resources do I have? What skills do I have? Is this solution require how much money? And the length of time that will take or will be required to build and implement that solutions. So it is also important at this point to consider the attitudes and support of your employees. So not just to consider that I have money, I can find this solution. Then how about the attitude? How about the attitude of your employees? Do they support? How about the managers? Do they support that solution? So just to work in harmony, you have to harmonize and come up with a solution that looks at all the organization as a whole, looks at all the dimensions. It has considered the technology part, it has considered the management part, and it has considered the organization part. So a solution that does not have the support of major interests in the business can quickly turn out into a disaster. For example, think of this. You want to come up with an information system and you expect the users of that information system to be your employees. Your employees can decide not to use that information system. So you have to come up with harmony. You have to make sure that your employees understand that the solution that you are implying, the solution that you want to implement in your organization will benefit both. Will benefit you as the employer, will benefit you as the manager, will benefit the organization and even the employees. So that is the next step. The last step is implementation. The last step is implementation. The best solution is one that can be implemented. So remember, in the choice part, you said you have to identify as many solutions as possible. Then you select the best solution. So the best solution is one that can be implemented. Implementation of information system involves building the solution and introducing it into the organization. So you build that solution. After you build that solution, then you introduce into the organization. So it may include the solution may include purchasing of a new software or a new hardware. It's not necessary to build that software or to build that hardware. You can purchase that software or you can purchase that hardware or you can even build. So the solution can be purchasing. Solution can be purchasing or solution can be building. So if you purchase, then you see that the cost of purchasing is lower than the cost of building, then you better purchase. So the technology part of the equation, as we have said, is you deal with the software, the hardware, the telecommunications, etc. So the software must be tested in a realistic business setting. So in the implementation process, we have said the first thing is either you purchase or you build. So suppose that you have decided to build, that is one. Then after building, you have to come and test. You have to test for that solution. So for example, if it is a software, then you have to test it in a realistic business setting. Then the employees also need to be trained, and then you provide a documentation about how you can use that new system that has been built. Then you will definitely need to think about change management. Change management, when you talk about change management, it refers to techniques that are used to bring about successful change in a business. So you bring out new techniques. You bring out new techniques that will be or will cause or will result into successful change in a business. Nearly all information systems require changes in the business processes, and therefore changes in what hundreds or even thousands of employees do every day. You will have to design new, more efficient business processes, then figure out how to encourage employees to adapt to these new ways of doing business. This may require meeting sessions to introduce the change to groups of employees. They may require training modules to bring employees quickly up to speed on the new information systems, on the new processes. And finally, you will need some kind of rewards or incentives to encourage people to support the changes. So implementations also include the measurement of outcomes. The measurement of outcomes. So after a solution has been implemented, it must be evaluated to determine how well it is working, whether any additional changes are required to meet the original objectives. So this information is fed back to the problem solvers. In this way, the identification of the problem can change over time, and solutions can be changed, and the choices can be made again, and all based on the experiences. So we have looked at the model that can be used to solve a problem. As we have said, the first step is problem identification, then there goes to solution design, then it goes to implementation, the solution and evaluation of choice. In the solution design, here is where we do a choice. After we have chosen, then we go to implementation. And the implementation, there can be some changes. So you have to do change management, and feedback should be taken again to problem identification. So during implementation, the outcome is continually measured, and the information about how well the solution is working is fed back to the problem solvers. And as I have said, then the identification of the problem can change over time, solutions can be changed, and new choices can be made, all based on experiences. So you have to take a note of one thing. When we are talking about problem solving actually is a process. It's not an event. Problem solving is a process. It is a process. It's not an event. It is often assumed that once a problem is solved, it goes away and can be forgotten about. So don't think of a problem as an event. A problem can be solved today, and it can rise to a new problem. So it is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that a problem solving is an event, and once it has been solved, then it is over. So you have to think of a problem as a continuous process rather than a single event. So you can probably find that there is a problem. There is a problem that exists. Then you find a solution to that problem. Then it's not the time to relax. You have to go back and do some interviews. You have to go back in the problem identification again to see if there is an existence of a new problem. For example, in universities, at first we had a problem that we had information systems. We were receiving our results in paper-based. Then there was an introduction of information system. We call it a student record information system, SR. But we find that nowadays SR has a number of problems. So SR has resulted into several problems. So these problems may be in the side of the instructors, in the side of the students, in the side of management. So you, as information systems in this organization, let's say the university as an organization, then you have to again go back to the process, to the problem identification process, and see, gather facts, and then do some interviews, ask people to see what is the real problem. After you have understood the problem, then design a solution. Then from designing a solution, you will find a number of solutions that exist. Then choose the best solution. After you have chosen the best solution, but in choosing the best solution, you have to consider all the dimensions of business problems. You have to consider the organizational dimension. For example, there can be because of outdated business process, can be due to unsupportive culture or attitudes, can be due to political conflicts, can be due to complexity of task or inadequate resources, or it can be a problem based on technology dimension. It may be insufficient or aging hardware. There may be the reason is to update a hardware or a software. Maybe database capacity, maybe insufficient telecommunications capacity, or rapid technological change. Then you have to take a note of all these dimensions. Or it can be due to people lack employees, or there is difficulties in evaluating the performance, or some legal and regulatory compliance, maybe work environment, or lack of employee support and participation, or poor management. All those can be taken as dimensions while you are solving a problem. So thank you very much for following this lecture. It is a very important lecture. As an information system specialist, you need to understand. So take a note of how you can come up with a solution to a problem that exists in your organization. Thank you very much for following Elimika Mtandaoni. My name is Agustino Mogosi, and this is the 6th lecture on the series of lectures on information system. Thank you very much.